John and Sandra Posey, the preacher's trainer, impacting the one who impacts many. We just wanted to give you an encouraging word today. In fact, actually, it was on my wife to do that.
Yes, just the Spirit of the Lord just really came upon me heavily for you, Pastor, for you, co-pastor, as the wife, for you, the wife, mom, regardless of what your title is, you need to know that you're important to God. And we thank you, and God thanks you for the service that you are rendering to the Lord. You're giving up your time, your gift, and everything that you have to make sure that you answer the call. So don't take it lightly, my friends. Don't think of it as there are times when you're discouraged and you just, your family's discouraged and your children are going through things and there's a tax on your wife. You hold your head up, my brother and my sister. You be strong in God and you keep the vision that God has put on your heart. And you run with that vision with a passion because God has never left you. He has never forsaken you. And He's always going to be there. And you are always on the winning team.
I had at least 2 times that I really thought I was almost lost the vision.
Yeah.
The first time was when we first started, and I was trying everything I could to get things moving. I was so discouraged about just no results, you know what I'm saying?
It was hard, it was rough.
And it really was, as I was plowing spiritually. There's a lot that you have to do. God does a lot of stuff in you, then He has to do this to kind of lay a foundation. And there's a lot of plowing, that we were going. And then you're discovering kind of what you want to do with.
But when you're plowing, pastor's wife, you're turning the dirt. If it's in the natural, you're turning that dirt. You don't have seed in that ground. You're turning that dirt. You're making preparation. You don't see anything at all. And a lot of times when we are plowing in ministry, there's nothing in sight. You think nothing's going on. But I want you to be encouraged and be a good cheer.
Well, because, and then even in that plowing is like, it's a different timetable. Some person,
in seasons.
We see a ministry kind of blow up as we think, and so now you feel bad because you're not doing that, or you're not seeing that result, or whatever. But you can't even look at it because you don't even know. You don't know anything about that ministry, about the history, about what God's been doing, or even what they might have been doing before. You don't really know, so you can't look at another person's ministry and then judge yourself by what you see in them. You just can't do it. Okay, don't do that.
We do it.
I've done it.
I've done it.
And
we
felt
do it.
Bad and all that stuff.
You go to the conferences or whatever conference.
About how many people you got.
you watch. You look on TV. You see all these big ministries and
then some of these other guys. They don't make you feel good.
They won't even speak to you.
They'll say things. Well, you don't have much or whatever, and they make so I remember I lost, but you were there to pour me, to encourage me. That's why I always say that pastors, we've got to build up our wives. Talking about the male pastors, build your wife up, because you need her to encourage you when it's gone. One more time I remember it was much later, actually, several years
later,
and I really lost sight of vision, and honestly. It was because, to some degree, I had become an Aaron leader, not a Moses leader. Where you kind of give the people what they want because you get tired of them whining about stuff. I'm just saying, you just do. So you just give them what they want. But then that's not what God called you to do. So I had to recapture, and again, you were there again to help me recapture that which is, because I said, well, maybe God didn't say it. Remember that? And you said, no.
I was there.
God didn't say what. So you got to keep your heart on the vision. What did God say? Don't look at the people. Sometimes, honestly, the people aren't worthy of the vision.
Wow. That's incredible.
They're not worthy of it. The Bible does say, if you go into a house, if the house be worthy, release your peace in the house. If it's not, take your peace back. So sometimes the things that we have to give, the people we're trying to give it to aren't worthy of it.
And pastors, listen, you guys, you need each other. You're not pastors, co-pastors, wives, don't fight each other.
hold each other close, man. That's
No,
all you
hold
got.
cherish each other.
Come on, man.
You know, don't take church problems home. Okay, once you go home, it's over with. And don't talk about church problems in your bedroom, in
No.
your kitchen, everywhere you
And
talk
when you
about
leave
church
service,
problems. Leave
cast
it.
that care of to the Lord, all that
Yes,
ministry stuff over to the
yes.
Lord.
Absolutely.
Just cast that to God and have a peaceful relationship with your bride. Don't
Love
take
your
your
bride.
times with your bride talking about church stuff all day. It's
And
all in
take
your
time for your bride.
Come on now.
At least one day a week. You need to do that for
Something.
you and your wife. You
Take some
can't
time
do
off.
7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Can't
You're
do
working
it.
day and night. And you know what? Listen, it's time out for that. Listen, it's, we decided it was God, John, and Sandra. God, John, and Sandra,
That's
and
it.
our children. And then our
Be in
ministry. You know what? Because you know what? The ministry can grow, it could go down, it could dissipate, a lot of things can happen. But you know what? The bottom line, we're always going to have God, and we're always going to have each other. And that's the pattern that we have followed, and that's the pattern that we have used, and it's been very effective. If people don't like you in your church, and they don't like your wife, that's all right. As long as you have God and you have each other, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about the vision that God has given
But you don't you let them mistreat your wife, though. Don't you let them mistreat your wife. You teach them
And
how to
your
respect
children.
people, and you don't, like I used to tell people, the choice is already made. It is John and Sandra. It's going to always be John and Sandra. You know what I mean? Because people crazy. Some of those folks, you pour your blood out just about, and some of these folks don't care. They'll tell you they love you one moment and turn around and say they hate you and that you ain't never done nothing for them. And I mean, crazy stuff. And that's not true, so that hurts you, So let's allow the Spirit of God to do a wonderful new thing in your year this year, 2014. We just declare it's going to be the best year ever, and that just like Psalms 1 says, that when you plant it by the tree, you're going to produce fruit in your season. And we just declare that
your leaves shall not wither.
Your leaf won't wither.
And listen, your validation, your identification, pastors, it's not on the size of your church, but it's on the call and the vision God has given.
God, man.
It's the size of your God. You hear me?
And you let God work in you.
Yes, and don't you worry about what size. It's not about size, because an angel will come down and they'll measure that, and then you know what? There's a whole lot of stuff's going to be burned up. Don't you ever measure your worth and your validation or your call by how many people you have.
And how they respond.
Yes, absolutely. Let that
Noah,
go.
y'all remember now. I do a little thing called the 8-member church.
I love it. That was
Brother,
awesome.
let me tell you something about Noah.
8-member church.
Come on now, in a church conference. One pastor said, "Yeah, I started my church, had 7 members, and in 5 years I got 7,000." Everybody, woo! Man, he's something else. Another pastor said, "Yeah, I started my church and we've been going, 15 years, and I've got 20,000 people." Oh, that's awesome. The other guy got up and said, "I started my church, and we started just with my family, and in a year and a half, we're running 3,000 people."
Woo!
And then this guy got up and said, "I started my church, I had 8 people, and after 120 years, I got 8 people." They look at him like he crazy. You should have shut that church a long time ago. Well, that 8 people was Noah. Noah was a preacher of righteousness. He preached the word of God to those people for 120 years, and not one member joined the church. But did he succeed? Was he successful?
It was his call.
That's what he did.
He was called to preach the gospel.
That's right.
He wasn't called to go and put a hook in them and pull them back in. He
They
was
didn't
called.
believe it. They made fun of him.
Yes, and they mocked him, and they ridiculed him, and they had parties. They probably roasted parties, just making fun of Noah and his wife.
Look at old fool.
Look at that fool over there. He's been preaching for 100. They probably had people come from all over the world just to come and watch it. Look at this man build a boat on dry land.
But in the end,
But he stayed true to the end.
stayed true to
He
the
stayed
end.
true.
So you stayed true to
He
the
didn't get discouraged. He didn't say, "Look at me. Look at Look at Joel Osteen. Look at, all these different preachers. He stayed true to what God called him to do. And you'll be at peace if you'll stay true to what God called you to do. Whether or not he's called you to 10, whether or not he's called you to 50, whether or not he's called you to 100, it doesn't matter. You stay true to what God called you to, and you love your wife, and you encourage her, and you let the church know that nobody comes between you and your wife and your children. It started with you and your wife and your family, and it's going to end with you and your wife and your family. Come on, somebody.
We're hearing from, we call ourselves ministry survivors.
Yeah. We survived. Praise God, and we're happy.
But we just encourage you. We're still in ministry. This ministry today is to impact the one who impacts many. So we believe that you're called to impact many people, and we're here to be an impact and encouragement to you. Just know that you can always call us and talk with us, and we're praying for you, believing for you. We have a new email we set up just for you. You have those times when you're out, you just
ready to throw the towel in.
Send that email to 911@thepreacherstrainer.com. 911preacherstrainer.com.
Absolutely.
And we'll pray for you.
Wives included. Wives especially.
A little prayer team that we'll be praying, for the pastors. We got some great things stored for you in the new year. So be blessed. Have a wonderful day, and I'm happy. Merry Christmas.
Breathe. Take a breath. Breathe. Cast that care. Come on. Isn't that what you tell your members?
Come on, cast
we cast the care.
Have an awesome year. Be blessed.
God bless you. Music.